Alright guys, getting ready for a first rip. Let's see how far we can go. Well, guys, it was a success. Garage is empty. Civic's sitting out there. We just took it for the first rips. It seems to be going good. It sounds nice and healthy. Only thing is, it's gonna obviously need a tune to make it perfect. I just had to play around with the timing and the actual fuel pressure on the regulator. When I first took it out, as soon as you would let off the gas, it would really lean out, AFR shoot up, and then it would kind of sputter and backfire. Changed the timing a little bit, so it's right around maybe minus like 4 degrees before top dead center, and it seems to like that a little bit more. Obviously, as soon as you kind of put load on it, it's really and kind of bucking and not loving it, and that's pretty much right when it kind of crosses over into boost. So obviously I'm not going to push it too hard yet. We're just going to drive it around. As you can probably tell from the videos, there's clearly an issue with our wastegate, and now that I've really thought about it and looked into it, it's been doing that ever since I got it, where it's always open pretty much straight from idle. It's letting exhaust go by, so it's way louder than it needs to be. It's not good. The cops are definitely going to come for me, and it might be playing around with the drivability and stuff like that. So we're gonna either have to investigate that or maybe get a new wastegate, but that's not too big of a deal. There's the beauty there, sitting next to the old Dogecoin truck. So this is gonna be for sale once this is reliable enough for me to drive every day and wrapped up and good to go. Sitting pretty outside, finally. It's been sitting in there since about September of last year. First time seeing the fresh air again, so lucky girl. Not so lucky truck, because she's not gonna get no love no more. So that's it. That was been last few months spent in this exact garage, in this bay, rebuilding an engine, having it not working, quickly throwing together a new one in about a week. It's been a cool experience, learned a lot of things, and hopefully we'll have a real good, cool car, and that's gonna be the daily. I've literally owned that car for a couple of years now and put maybe 2,000 kilometers on it, because initially I'd store it in the winter every year, and when I first got it, I needed it to pass Quebec safety, which is a bitch. The car has to be basically completely stock, and obviously it was modified, exhaust, lowered, all that shit, so I had to take all that off. And by the time I was done, barely got to drive it. And then last summer, barely got to drive it because it pretty much it blew up pretty quick, and I had another Jeep that was giving me issues. I've just been so busy with cars that I haven't gotten to drive it, so I'm really hoping to actually drive this car and not just spend my entire time trying to get it to run right. I'm hoping that I can get a tune on it. I'm gonna try and save up to get a chip DCU and Honda and get that thing tuned and make it so it's not gonna blow itself up. Very conservative, just a 7 PSI maybe max. Right now, as is, it feels fun. It feels great. Lots of torque because it's a 2-liter engine, and I'm really looking forward to being able to drive it this summer. We're going to try and come up with some ideas with it, road trips, things to record, cool things to do. I don't know. There's no real racetracks or drag strips around here, so I can't do much of that. But if there's something you want to see, let me know. Something you want me to try, whatever. If you got an idea for a video, drop it down below. Let me know. And as always, you can follow me on Instagram for the most current updates. That's where everything gets posted instantly. Otherwise on the YouTube channel here, it's posted every Saturday about once a week. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you're as excited as I am, and on to the next thing. Alright guys, just want to make a little update for you. Turns out when I installed my wastegate over a year ago, I forgot to put the collar that goes between here, and originally that blew out my gasket. I was always wondering what the hell happened. I wound up using like JB Weld to cover it, and turns out I just looked up how to install a wastegate, and there's supposed to be a collar there. So we're gonna now turn it on after it leaking for like a year, and let's see how loud or quiet it's actually supposed to be. Hopefully it's different. Now we can see. Oh yeah. That's how it should be. Wow. Yeah, that's much quieter. So now there's nothing blowing out of our dump there at idle. And originally it was taking a while to make boost too when I had the other engine. It'd be like the last 2,000 RPM before redline, and this is probably why, because most of the gas is going right out and not building boost. So, sweet. Let's see how she drives. Alright, so just went on a little drive. Definitely drives better with that wastegate fixed, but somehow the charge pipe that comes right off the turbo decided, fuck you, I'm gonna fall off, even though I swear this was tight as fuck. So now I get to fix that. So today we're going to be kind of spacing out our downpipe here. So we've been taking the car for a few rides. It seems good and all, but my only few issues, nothing too major. This one here I'll show you. Our downpipe, I guess I should be better off if I had light, but basically the oil pan's right here. The edge of our downpipe here is touching the oil pan because the deck height of the B20 is about 1 centimeter taller than the B16, and I custom made this downpipe for the B16 to fit nice and flush. So yeah, now that we have a taller motor, this is vibrating and it's causing this plate here on the trans to make a really annoying noise when we're driving around. Plus, you know, it's probably not too good for heat transfer to be touching it. So what I have as a solution, because in there right now is just one of those normal super thin metal gaskets, we're gonna add this gasket that I have, which is a little bit thicker. And if this doesn't space it out enough, I might go ahead and pick up a couple more of these and I'll just sandwich 2 of them together. I've looked that up, and I mean, of course people say it's good, it's not good. I think it's worth trying rather than having to try and custom make a downpipe again, or like try and re-weld it. I don't really want to do that if I can just add a gasket, make it space out, as long as it doesn't blow it out. But it's not, it's literally just another about 1 centimeter of space that I would need. So we're gonna go ahead and see if this does the trick for that. And otherwise I have to, I'm gonna rebleed my brakes because the pedal doesn't feel too great. Everything is brand new, lines, brakes, all that shit's new. So I'm gonna rebleed the brakes to try and get a better pedal feel out of that. And we have kind of a moving idle, like a normal idle air control valve problem. So I don't know if it's that or if there's a vacuum leak somewhere. Once the car warms up, it starts doing the bouncy idle thing. So that's what we're looking at right now. Just a couple little things, and then we should be able to just hit the road and do some more drives. Alright guys, so I just installed that thicker gasket, and coming down here, that gasket is not too much thicker, but look at that. It's not, the downpipe still needs to be tightened up, but it's, if you can see it, that is just a cunt hair's worth of space, which is much better than it touching. You can kind of see from the mark around it that it definitely was rubbing, and I would hate for that to rub through. I think I can pull on it a little bit. But yeah, all right. So I'll probably have to purchase another gasket, and we'll stack 2 of them, and that should make enough clearance. But if that stops it from rattling for now, then I'll be happy with that. So I'm just gonna tighten up those bolts there and see what happens. Because this here, now that I have some light, this is the plate that I'm pretty sure once it rattles on this, it makes this rattle. Because I just get a very hollow metal rattly sound whenever it's like at a very, it's between like 2,000 and 3,000 RPM you get the noise. Otherwise it's not, there's no noise at all until you hit that. Fucking hell. So we've gone ahead and finished up bleeding the brakes and adjusting our downpipe, and then we checked for any leaks because of our coolant thing. So the coolant thing because of our moving idle. I checked, it didn't seem like there was any leaks, and then I just popped the cap off the radiator, turned our heat on full blast, let it bleed out, and that seems to have fixed it. We'll see after I drive, because sometimes it wouldn't do it unless I was like blipping the throttle. So we'll see how that does. But now it's basically time to just go for a drive, and I want to share for you a little story here. always make sure, especially your live power wires, like this one that goes to the battery, make sure it's not going to contact any metal parts, because somehow this managed to move back and the rubber shield came off just enough that the metal touched my starter and created a nasty spark. I had one of my VTEC plugs dangling down there because this engine doesn't have VTEC anymore. Right here, so the sparks caused it to melt and it made a little fire. So that's no good. So I took the whole thing off, wrapped the shit out of it with electrical tape, made sure the cover's good and it's out of the way, so that's not gonna touch. And I taped over my other plugs here with electrical tape, make sure nothing can short, nothing can get metal on metal that's electrical. Those are out of the way and that's not going to cause an issue. That should be good to go. And now I guess the only thing we have to do, go for a little drive and see how it is. Alright guys, so today we're installing our Bluetooth intake manifold. It's looking great, lots of room here in the engine bay, so now we can put another turbo on the back. No, I'm just fucking with you. So we obviously had the erratic idle, so I decided, fuck it, I'll just take my intake manifold off to try and look. And I mean, it's a brand new gasket, everything in there looks good. I can't see any obvious signs of what was leaking yet, so we're just gonna attack everything. Took this off, basically. I trimmed down the side of this a little bit more again, and I mean, I'll show you here. You can see it's not too far in. That's exactly as much as you'd want to take off, no more, but it wasn't leaking out of there. The surface is nice and smooth and good. And yeah, so I adjusted that more because initially, you can see our coolant line here. I'm like barely able to hold on to it because there was just not enough room for that with the clamp on it to fit together, so adjusted it, so that'll be good now. And we took off our idle air control valve, cleaned that stuff up. You can see here it was quite gunky. Don't think this was the problem because I was able to tell that it was actuating by plugging that hole, and when I unplugged it, it did do something. But either way, cleaning it up here, making it as good as possible, try and make sure we check all the culprits that it could be for this shit and slap it back together, and hopefully it works. Yeah, working on cars fucking pisses me off so much. Oh my god, literally just spent all day on this idle problem because I was like, yeah, for sure, it doesn't mean that code doesn't mean just immediately replace the IAC. Check for everything else. I checked. I thought surely since I put this B16 intake on my B20, there had to be a leak. Took the whole manifold off. I just showed you the whole shebang. Yeah, it still did it. And then I go and I put the IAC from my B20 intake manifold, swap it over. It was the IAC. The one time I'm not like, oh, let's just swap the simple thing. For fuck's sake.
When you ask me to bring that guacamole to the party, I'll say no, no. If you ask me bring the guacamole to the party, I'll say no, no, no. That shit's too expensive.